It's saying that they should have known what their nature was, and that their nature was contrary to homosexuality. They should have and could have known that. And they suppressed that knowledge and thus acted on their sin and became worthy of death. And they knew that doing such things was worthy of death because they knew it was contrary to their natures. So there's a lot that can be known through general revelation about our nature. I do want to point out that not all presuppositionalists are anti-general revelation or diminishing of general revelation the way that some are. It's not necessarily inherent to every presuppositionalist. And there are a lot of non-presuppositionalists who diminish it as well. This isn't exclusive to presuppositionalism. But the mindset that leads to diminishing general revelation tends to be focused pretty heavily in the presuppositional mindset. And one huge example of that is Dr. James White. On Twitter, he's Dr. Oakley1689. At one point, somebody said something about general revelation being the basis for special revelation. And he meant that epistemologically, of course. And we would agree with that. And James White came back and responded to this person and said, how could special revelation be based in general revelation when all general revelation tells us is that God exists? And I was floored by that. Really? That's all it tells us? That God exists? I wanted to say, have you read Romans 1?
I have seen him say that it tells us that God exists and that he's worthy to be praised. And he'll wrap it up like that. And he'll say, and that's it. So if you were to ask him, write him a letter and say, tell me exactly what your position is, I'm pretty sure that's what his answer would be.
The problem, though, is that Romans 1 goes on to list a lot of other things that can be known through general revelation. It's not just that God exists, but it's his invisible attributes, his eternal power, his divine nature, the things that he deserves thanks for. And this might be included in what he says worthy of praise. But it implies that the Gentiles should have thanked God, so they should have known what to thank him for, and they didn't, and that's one of the reasons that they're condemned. It implies that they should have had and understood the wisdom of God, the glory of God, that they rejected the glory of God, meaning that they had access to it in order to reject it. But more specifically, it gets into other details. So not just God's nature and his invisible attributes, which, I mean, that's a lot right there. That's not just God exists, but Paul is saying you can know certain specific attributes of God, certain things about his divine nature, which is huge. I mean, that's no small thing. But in addition to that, Romans 1 goes on to talk about exchanging the glory of God for the creation. And then in addition to that, as the depravity goes on, doing things that are contrary to nature, right? About the nature of sexuality and the nature of right sexuality. But I don't think that's all. Paul's listing a few extreme examples in Romans 1, but that shouldn't be taken to be exhaustive of everything. The fact that he lists those extreme examples should tell us, wow, there's probably a lot more that can be known through general revelation about our natures and about how we ought to interact with other humans, right? If general revelation tells us so much that we could know what's proper for our nature in regard to sex, well, then it probably tells us quite a bit about what's proper to our nature in regard to everything else in life.